I've been spiritually called to talk about honoring my father, and as it turns out, it falls on the exact perfect right time in terms of Father's Day coming up, and it's in complete alignment with what I've been creating in my own life, my own purposeful career, my coaching business, my empowerment business. And I wanted to talk about this because this is really about honoring my own father, which has only been able to come to fruition because of my ability to learn how to honor myself and honor my inner child, and then honor my relationships to myself, my inner child, and my parents. And this was never, ever the case. I grew up not feeling a close connection to either one of my parents. My mother was my arch nemesis, meaning I had a blatant love-hate relationship with my mother. And my father was more passive. He was in the background, and he wasn't around very much because he was working and building a business and providing for the family. So it was a very precarious family dynamic, especially coming from an Asian culture, Chinese American. I was born here in the U.S., but my father was born in China. My mother's also Chinese, but born here in the U.S. So the common thread from my point of view is growing up with Asian parents, it was extremely unemotional and uncommunicative. There was virtually no relating as humans. It was more of relating as computers. And the irony is that my dad came from a computer background, had his own computer company, but he dealt in hardware and was way ahead of the time. So we functioned more like computers than people. Now, don't get me wrong, I love computers, but ain't the same. Being a human was a problem for me. I had no idea what this even meant, and I questioned the whole meaning of life, my own life, and didn't quite understand anything about myself or even my parents. I saw them as just working really hard and making money, not ever being happy, fighting, and then we die. So that's how I had, for most of my childhood, my perceptive filters or perceptions about my parents. And so as I've been able to evolve myself and understand brain function and how this is the most mysterious yet best kept secret on the planet, is understanding consciousness, brain function, and the magic and scariness of the subconscious and unconscious mind. So through my journey, I have been obsessed with the human mind, the human psyche. I've been obsessed with understanding myself. I've been obsessed with understanding the meaning of life. Very philosophical, very introverted, very introspective, very dreamy. This is my personality. And as I've continued to learn and grow and seek guidance and experts and therapists and counselors, mentors, advisors, I've been able to put together everything to understand it on my terms, that it's been so overwhelmingly, magnificently powerful in my own life. Hence the power of self-evolution. It really comes down to the power of self-love, which comes down to understanding the relationships, the human relationships, and what stops humans from profoundly, intimately, deeply, communicatively relating to other human beings. And that's what absolutely transformed my life, skyrocketed it, catapulted it on every level. And what really hit home was understanding my relationship to and with my father. So we often talk about your mother, your mother, your mother, and I even had a cutting-edge holistic practitioner say to me one day, which I thought was so brilliant. He said, if it's not one thing, it's your mother. The saying is actually, if it's not one thing, it's another. He said, if it's not one thing, it's your mother. And that is so, pop psychology. That is so Psychology 101. And true, like over and over again. That is so super true. And so I immediately went to work on my relationship to and with my mother, especially her being my arch nemesis, so to speak. And I had a lot of drama and trauma with her. And then, it occurred to me like, hello, this relationship thing, as I kept training and learning and studying and case studying and coaching and learning, it came full circle back to how vitally important it is to understand our relationship to Father. And especially with men. And so this is based on my own research and theories and understanding and coaching practices, case studies, testimonials, and of course all the geniuses out there that have been studying it from their points of view, and the statistics, real simple. Gang members, the common denominator, no father figure. A positive, impactful father figure. Okay, check. I get this. It makes complete sense. It just resonates with me. And then we look at the prisons, and we'll see over and over again the common denominator. And so I vowed to myself through my own epiphanies and insights and breakthroughs. This was several years ago. I would say like 3 years ago. I said, oh my gosh, I'm a stand for the men in the world. And I really want to proactively coach and empower the men. And it was something that I set in my mind, and as the time went by, it kept showing up over and over and over again, to the point where when I first started my coaching practice, it was all women. And then I continued to do work, and I started volunteering, teaching dance and empowering women through dance. And these women come from hardcore drug addiction. I mean, massive drug addiction. They come from jail, non-violent felons. They are broken beyond belief. They've had lives so rough that it will make your head spin, and it's heartbreaking. But for every one woman that I talk with, teach dance to, empower, and see, the ones who don't participate, there is a significant other, a man significant other, a baby daddy who's also in jail and also an addict over and over again. And so I see it, I'm living it, I set the intention, and as I look backwards, even right now speaking about it, every dot lines up so divinely, so perfectly that it's so mind-blowing. I'm at a loss for words. And what it comes down to is the relationship to mother and relationship to father are equally priceless and invaluable and matter. And it's a thing. And especially since for most of my life I had love-hate relationship with myself, mostly hate, it then transferred onto a love-hate relationship to everyone and everything, predominantly my parents. And I just didn't quite get it. I intuitively knew that something wasn't right within our family dynamic. I also intuitively knew that my father was very wounded and very broken early on. So early on in my life, around 6 years old, which I talk about in other podcasts, is intuitively knowing that my father was unfaithful and that he was cheating. And that there was a disconnect between my mom and my dad, emotional and spiritual. Now, they did all the right things. They were able to be self-made and, make lots and lots of money to give us kids everything. But what we had was materialism. We had great circumstances and external conditions, but there was nothing more than that. There was no connection to self. There was no communication. There was no empowerment. There was no cohesiveness. There was no respect. And this deep, profound, connective family dynamic feeling, this feeling of this deep love and affinity, if you want it. I can't even describe it in words. It was not there at all. And seeing and understanding how, in general, men and women or masculine, feminine energy plays a role in relatability. It all comes down to relationships, relationship, and understanding that everything and everyone is a relationship. So I'm able to take the information in creating a profoundly loving, passionate relationship with myself. I am now able to create that same relationship to and with everyone and everything if I so choose. So I was able to definitely heal so many wounds within myself, within my inner child, and take that to healing the wounds with and to my mother, which has produced miraculous results, and then following my father. So in these past several years, my relationship with my father has grown exponentially in the realm of spirituality, connectiveness, communication, and feeling this sense of he can see me and understand me and hear me and accept me for who I am and who I am not. And I am able, more importantly, to do the same for him. Because I was really judgy. I was super, super intuitive, introspective early on as a child, starting at age 1. And I knew things, and I saw things, and I felt things, and I sensed things. And to this day, we're spot on, and I'd have to say dead on. So when I say dead on, meaning that because I could see certain things, I had a lot of what I thought almost justifiable evidence against my parents, against my mother, against my father. I blamed them for everything wrong in my life. And then I blamed my father for everything that happened that affected my deceased sister. And it grew from my perceptions and the way I viewed things from my point of view. I had extremely negative views about my father. I had thoughts about my father that were destructive. And that is not at all in anyone's best interest. And understanding why and how it's so important to heal these wounds and these perceptions, to get rid of the old, disempowered, negative, hurtful, destructive, traumatizing perceptions, and understand how to reframe it so that we have the most beautiful, empowering, passionate perceptions, which those perceptions create the feelings and emotions of connectedness, of relatedness, of respect. And I've come to a point where I see now I'm able to see my father for who he is and for who he is not. And there's a lot of who he is not that I was willing to train to let go of, to see all of the magnificence and be so honored to have him as my father and be able to build our relationship where there's so much respect and communication that I can't even describe how magical this relationship to my father has become, in terms of he now is one of my greatest fans. My number one fan is my mother, and my number two fan is my father. And that was never the way. I never thought that was even possible. Again, I came from, superficially a great family. I had everything, college money, privileges. I got everything, but the very thing that I wanted as a child was never there, and I never thought it was even an option, that I'd ever have the ability to say and put out to the world that I now can honor myself, which I never thought would happen, and in that be able to honor my mother and, more importantly, my father. So at the end of the day, although I had my issues with my mother, my father had way worse evidence against him in a court of law. In other words, he broke the sacred vows of marriage by cheating on my mother. He was accused of incest by my sister. It runs deep, and that clearly incest is illegal. It's creepy, and it's a problem. And so if that's the case, for me to understand the dynamics every which way I can, the worst to the best, I was able to even, I want to say confront my father, but I was able to have the conversation of where I stood in regards to the evidence that kept showing up against him, to where I was still able to have the freedom to speak my mind and my point of view, which was definitely not his point of view. And it was rough, to the point where he did not speak to me for years and years and years. And then when he started to come back toward me, which was his doing, not mine, when we had conversations that were uncomfortable, he would avoid and hang up the phone and not want to talk to me again. So this went through cycles of this over and over again. And as I continued to stay devoutly committed to my sense of self and who I am and what I stand for and what I don't stand for and what I believe and don't believe, then the magic happened, sent out a very high frequency, high vibration. And what happened was my father continued to circle back and circle back and circle back. And every time he circles back, it's on my terms. It goes the way that I want it to go. I get to say what I want to say in such a way that he starts to hear me. He understands. I must stand for him, leaving this lifetime happy and complete within himself, reconciling anything that he has had issues with in his own life. And that's the relationship I'm creating with my father, in that he has become my number two fan. And in that, it has come full circle, because 3-4 years ago, when I'm saying I'm a stand for men and I want to empower men, I was thinking it was because of my own broken relationships with all my boyfriends, and I'm thinking it's because too many men in jail, and I'm thinking I have to have a greater purpose, and I'm thinking, I see so many broken women like my mother having problems with even more broken men like my father, and so let me go to work and help all the men in the world. But really what it ended up coming right back to, and is directly related and correlated to, was and still is this understanding the dynamic of self to inner child. Doesn't matter if you're male or female, masculine energy, feminine energied. What matters is having this relationship with everyone and everything. And then I saw, oh my gosh, underneath it all, unconsciously, what was really happening for me was and is this compelling compassion to help other men not make the same mistakes my father did. Ta-da! If they so choose to be able to empower boys to men and men to husbands and husbands to fathers. Oh my gosh, boys to brothers, like this is the thing. And it's not just men, it's human. To understand we're all human and to really master this humanness is so radically powerful that it's unbelievable. And so here, what we have to do then is, I'm sorry, that is my dog. Millicent, I'm recording. Quiet, please. So is understanding this relationship. See, that's also a relationship to and with something, a dog. A dog can pick up energy. This is why they use all those canines for police work and detective work and FBI work. So it's a relationship, and it's all the same, is it circles back to understanding that this relationship, and if I can have this with my dad and I understand the common denominators, that because of my father and experiencing, living with this father that was a broken little boy and didn't even know it, that I know that I can empower men to not sabotage their lives and themselves and make mistakes that they can never take back. And that's what this is really about. So it's honoring self, honoring mother, honoring father, getting these relationships with our parents so profoundly whole and pure and complete. And it doesn't mean that we have to listen to everything they say, and if they tell us what they think we should be doing, know that we have the power to say, no, thank you, and I appreciate your words of wisdom, but I opt out. I'm not interested. I'm not doing what you think I should do. I'm not going to live the life that you think I should live. You live your life, I live my life. Please understand this, and let's just respect and love each other for who we are and who we are not. And that's what this is really about. And so now I've come full circle, and I am specifically hyper-focused on this man thing. And I can only win, I tell you, I can only win. I come from a real estate background. I predominantly dealt with men. It's a male dominated industry. Someday I plan to be married to a man. This is going to help me. Perhaps, deal with boys, sons, mentoring. That's another thing. I empower these women through hip hop, through dance. I want to empower men through hip hop and dance. There's no difference. But right now, as I'm working, I see over and over again how, especially for men and boys, that the relationship to father, to dad, to daddy is more important at some level, at a profound level, than relationship to mother. So I say it this way, that a boy gets his heart from his mom and his confidence from his dad, if that makes any sense. So I'm going to say the spiritual part from mom and the confidence, self-confidence, and self-respect from dad. And that's something I've been working with, that I have been studying. I've been working and honing in on being more effective and powerful and empowering to help men heal their relationships to, of course, themselves, their own inner child, and with their fathers. And that's what I see as a huge gaping hole, is a missing, is an area where even in my research, there's not the depth of the unconscious, and how, we have statistics. We can see, especially in the criminal mind, what happens when there's a father figure that is very self-sabotaging and self-destructive, and it carries over. And I don't believe there's enough attention there. I don't believe that we're really digging deep enough. So that's fine. I'm not going to criticize. There are a lot of geniuses out there looking into it, but I'm just going to do it myself because I'm fascinated with it. I'm obsessed with it. I see the results that are happening with my own clients and my own life and my own father. So, you know what? Call me selfish in terms of wanting to understand this dynamic, empower my own father along the way, because this is my specialty and what I do for a purposeful career and profession. So bring it. And that's the driving, happy, ambitious, passionate, burning desire that fuels this for me. So it comes down to honoring my father through empowering not only him, but other men. And again, over and over again, the results are magical, mind-blowing, off the charts, and it just then converts into so much prosperity in every area of life that it's like winning the eternal lottery. It's like a jackpot. Oh my God, it's like the biggest winnings jackpot in Vegas that you could ever do. And there's no amount of money that could put a price on it. It's absolutely priceless. There's no amount of dollars that you could ever put on this. And so over and over again, I want to put it out there as to, from my experience, how vitally important it is to understand how healing these relationships are so magical. Like, it's the magic key. That's what it is. And so as I'm choosing to honor my father just as my father, I don't have to do anything about it. I don't need to go do this. I desire to. I am compelled to. It's makes me feel purposeful, and it makes me personally feel good. And okay, bottom line, it works. It works over and over again. And so this is why I've been focusing on empowering men specifically, especially in the podcast. And I just want to explain where that came from so that you, the listener, can understand, my line of thinking. And it's not a only men, only women thing or either or. It's an and. It's an and. And working at an all women's facility, I love it. Happy to be there. And, I also want to spend time empowering men. And I've worked with children. I've worked with boys, empowering them through horses, using equine therapy. It's so fun. It's so exciting. And it's magnificent to see and watch the transformation. And I highly advise, trying it and relating yourself to your relationships with your parents, and the healthier and respectful and understanding the relationships are, the greater the prosperity. And that converts into money, because we're back to prosperity, abundance. We're back to the bottom line to prosperity, happiness, health, and wealth, and passion, desire, is having healthy relationships first and foremost. That is a thing that put me over the top, that catapulted my life and career, that magnetized my soul's purpose and calling, my divine calling of teaching other people this stuff that has completely transformed and transcended my life. And yeah, transcended. Transformation is new. Transforming into something brand new. Transcending is it becoming so unconsciously powerful and proficient that it's just the norm now. And then we send out that vibration, and it aligns with the highest vibration from other brains and other humans' brains and animal brains. This is the whole dog whisperer thing. This is the horse whisperer thing. This is being connected to the animals and being connected to nature and being connected to our brand new iPhone and connected to family members and our spouses' parents, our in-laws, and it goes on and on and on and on, and all of that is prosperity to me. So that said, I just got chills in this moment of honoring my father, and I love him more than life itself on so many levels that I can say this, and to have this connection and feelings to and with him, and actually now feel it back through his words of saying, it makes me so happy to be able to talk to you, is what now he always says to me when he calls me from China. And my parents are divorced now, and he doesn't talk to my mother anymore, and he doesn't have close relationships to all of my brothers and sisters. So I've been able to create this, and virtually effortlessly, to where he has actually come toward me. And that is spiritual. That's a vibrational, subconscious phenomenon of the law of attraction and what I call the principles of magnetization, and becoming a prosperity magnet and magnetizing prosperity. Is he has come to me in just my efforts of setting out the intention to empower men, knowing how priceless it is to have these profound relationships with our parents. And miraculously, he keeps showing up in my life, and every time he does, I take the call, and I keep showing up in that, and it's blossomed into something that I didn't even know was even a thing. And it gets better. It's better than your wildest dreams. It's true. I couldn't even believe, at first when I talked to him, he'd always compliment my older brother, my older sister, whom he's very close to. But he never said anything to me. He never complimented me. He never acknowledged me for anything, ever. And I just, it didn't even matter. I didn't need to compete for that. Whereas a kid, I definitely needed to compete for that. I just was like, great. Oh, it's so good to hear you say that. And I was able to just be unconditionally accepting. And now all he does is rave about me to me and say how much I mean to him and how highly he thinks of me, which that's just a bonus. I didn't even ask for that. I wasn't even looking for that. I didn't even care if I ever got it. The only thing I wanted was to be in this place with my parents, to where when the time comes, unless there's a freak accident, knock wood, that they will die before me. And the one thing and only one thing that matters to me is I have not one regret at all in their passing, and that I can celebrate their life in their death, and do the same for myself, of course, and everyone and everything that dies. But to have that with my parents is the end game, the exit strategy, the end goal. That's why I continuously choose to do this, is that when they have passed, I believe in past lives and spiritual and crossing over, but when they're not here anymore in this lifetime, in the human suit that each of them are in, that I can have the most peace and harmony and love and compassion and empathy, but also be in this such a high level of celebration and acknowledgement and an honor of having them as my parents, that's what I'm going for. And I never had that growing up. As a matter of fact, I wish I had prayed in my mind. I almost believed I was adopted. I almost believed that they are not my parents, that they took home the wrong baby from the hospital. I wanted to believe that they made a mistake, that my parents were not supposed to be my parents. And I kid you not, I said this to myself so many times, to the point where I adopted my best friend's mother as my new mother. And I didn't really do anything about my dad, but I just didn't want them as my parents. To come to not even just full circle, to come to a circle that I don't even recognize, to come into a circle that it is beyond belief, so astronomically out of this world that I don't even have words to articulate it, but I know you can feel the energy, and that's all that matters. And so I want to say to every human to continue to understand your relationship to yourself, to your inner child, and your relationship to your father and your mother. And even if they've passed and they're no longer with us, it still can be done, and I believe must be done. But this is really in terms of in honor of Father's Day here in the U.S. I don't know if that's a whole global thing. Not even sure. But tomorrow is Father's Day, and I normally don't even bat an eyelash at whether it's Father's Day or Mother's Day, truth be told, or what day it is. But for some reason, the energy and the vibration is so high, and I'm hugely clairsentient, clairvoyant, and intuitive, that I'm just going to go with it and follow the bliss of the high in the zone energy, and honor every human being on the planet, and honor every man on the planet, and honor every woman on the planet, and honor my father, and honor all dads, all fathers. And there's still hope. There's still hope. And never lose sight of that. Know for a fact there's always hope. There's always healing. There's always creating a brand new, transformative, communicative relationship, regardless of circumstances and external conditions. And when we specifically, especially the men, the boys and the men, hanker down and really work on that relationship to and with Father, more magic can happen than words could even describe. And I highly, highly advise and recommend it. And it's so worth it, because on the other side will be so much magnificent magic, abundance, money, prosperity, love, connection. It's like heaven on earth, that I can only tell you by experience. Don't knock it till you try it. Get involved. Just do it. And at least start to really think about it and set it as an intention, and really see how life has been for you when you have healthy communicative relationships. And imagine having that with the people deep down you're connected to through DNA, how that would be with those people, especially parents. I can't say enough. It's mom and dad, dad and mom. So happy Father's Day to all the dads and all the fathers. And even if you have no biological children, if you have a cat or a dog and you're a male, then happy Father's Day to you. That's a form of being a dad. So we all have father in us. We all have mother in us. We all have something in us. And even in my coaching, at some level, I become a surrogate father figure to my clients, man or woman. And it's a thing. It's a thing. And it must be a thing to get to the next level. So with this, thank you so much for listening. This was a big deal to share with you this morning. And it's in honoring my own father, my own dad, my own daddy, I am able to empower other men in their relationships with their fathers, with their dads. And this is why I am really focused on empowering men. And what happens through that is, in the big scheme of things in the world, imagine what is so possible and even probable in terms of healthier humans, healthier men, less jail time, right? Let's not even talk about the Middle East, domestic violence, so many things. It can just radiate outward into so much magnificence that's what I'm going for. So thank you so much for listening. Happy Human Day, happy Father's Day, happy Daddy Day, and I'm wishing you all a spiritually based, connective, chills, angel chills relationship, tune with yourself, your inner child, and with your dad. Dad. And to that, I say happy Father's Day to all the biological dads of humans, and happy Human Day to every human being out there. Thank you so much. I would love to hear your feedback. You can always contact me at KarenLovely@gmail. Message me through social media, #KarenLovely. I'd love to hear from you and really celebrate every and all relationships that serve you and organically have you feel good and feel a sense of love and affinity. Thank you so much.